So Coach, take it away.
Hey, what's up, guys? Extreme pleasure to get a chance to speak to some coaches, kind of across the country. Like you said, my name is Jason Starin. I'm at Wagner High School here in San Antonio, Texas. We've been running the Flex Bone since 2017. 2017, we were, when you go back and look at 2017 film, we weren't very good, but through clinics like this and, I think I know Mark Grounds is the guy that reached out to me. I know he's a dude in Illinois there with you guys. But guys like him, guys across the country, events like this, we've gotten better and better. And so without any further ado, I'm just going to kind of roll through these slides. I'm going to, let me see. Okay. So anyway, Wagner, we like to say, let the bone roll, something kind of a little bit original about the flex bone. And then, like I said, my name is Jason Starin, Wagner High School, San Antonio, Texas. We're talking about zone dive a little bit. I'm going to go slower than I normally do. Sometimes I talk a little too fast, but and if we get to, we'll get to some half line. My contact information will be at the end. So you'll have a chance to, reach out to me if you have any questions, if we want to go in more depth, or if you need something shared with you. I love talking to coaches, and I love talking about football. Okay, we talk about T3 around here, right? We're a tough, trustworthy team. And what's neat about this little culture we're trying to build is, tough. Obviously that's toughness. It's mental toughness. It's a full-out effort. It's physical toughness. And synonyms for trustworthy, that's accountability, that's integrity. And then team, of course, talking about family and service. So kind of a cool little acronym we use, and we're going to use it as long as we're here at Wagner. Okay, I always like to do this. This is not an all-inclusive list, but there's a lot of people who have contributed, and this is going to be recorded, and I want to make sure everybody, if you know me, hopefully I stuck your name on there. But there's everything from pastors to my grandmother to coaches I've met to coaches I've only learned from, and it's just I want to recognize that a lot of people have poured into me, and I'm really excited to do the same for anybody out there. Okay, first thing, why zone dive, right? We're a flex bone team, and I'm not going to teach like you guys are elementary flex bone coaches. I'm going to teach maybe to a higher level. At least, I don't know if I'm any higher level than anybody else, but I'm going to teach as high level as I can. So why the zone dive, right? Well, if we talk about if then, the first bullet on the upper left, if we talk about if then, right? If you look at those if then deals that Paul Johnson put out, if you guys have if you guys have gone way back on Google and found a whole bunch of those if then call sheets, a lot of times they say like on a pull pitch, that's when you're supposed to run zone dive. But fellas, what I've learned is it's not just a pull pitch. It has to be a good read by the quarterback. Like 1 and 2 were hot. So therefore, 1 and 2 in some form or fashion took dive and quarterback. Okay, that means somebody else is flowing over the top, to get to that pitch. Obviously, it could be, a safety. Then you're going to throw the play action pass. But it's not just was the ball pulled and pitched. It has to be, is the defense fitting? And was the quarterback supposed to pull pitch? Then if the inside linebacker's there, that's when you can run zone dive. So obviously the second bullet, take advantage of how the defense is defending Veer, right? Everyone on this play, and we're gonna go over some play diagrams and stuff. Everyone blocks Veer except like 2.5 players, and you're gonna find out the 2 players I'm talking about are the play side A and the play side tackle. That half a player, the way we run it, not everybody runs it like this, is our play side guard. So the play side guard has if it's a 4-man front, he's covered, he's just going to block Veer, but if he's uncovered, he does something different than he would on Veer. That's why I say it's 2.5 players. Another thing is really this play, especially now, like here in San Antonio, here in Texas, nobody really runs the flex bone. And so I think sometimes these not only do the coaches, but the players who are defending that don't even really know the difference between zone dive and Veer, because I think it's hard for that play side linebacker / middle linebacker to even see what's happening. it's hard to recognize, right? Because that inside linebacker, he gets a cloudy look. That play side tackles, he looks like it might look like a bad Veer or a slow Veer, and then the play side A is kind of shielding number one, and so the mic really can't tell what's going on. Now, I think some other players, if they're king the slot like number two, the pitch key or the play side safety, they might recognize it, but I don't think the mic or the inside linebacker does. Another thing is it can double as a quarterback player, right? You just teach the B-back what you want them to do. We're going to talk about what we tell our B-back or what we tell our fullback to do. There's two things you can tell them, right? You can tell them, hey, just read it like zone dive for yourself and fit up an open seam and block what shows. Or you could tell them run a banana path, and kind of kick out like power. It's totally up to you. It depends kind of about the rest of your offense and like what that guy can do. But we happen to tell him to just run zone dive like he had the football, and then that's just what we tell him to do. It is a quick hitter. It's a great short yardage play. Keeps the ball in the fullback hands. If especially he should be your dude, right? And so it's where on third and one, just handle the football. We struggled with that this year because we just didn't have the same guy at fullback as we did in years past. And I feel like it is good versus any front. It's not very expensive. It's if we're going to talk about it in detail today, it's gonna come across as maybe expensive, but it really isn't, because there's only a handful of skills you have to teach them that are contrary to Veer. And then we will talk about that. We do pot it up once a week for this play, but we don't really put it anywhere else in practice. So in that sense, it's not expensive either. Okay, here's some data. I'm not going to leave this up for a long time, but I just want to talk about the difference between 2018 and 2019. We ran it 35 more times. 2018, we were more of a belly G team, and then in 2020, we only played like 8 games, and we ran it. What is that? 100 and it's 115 plus 30 is it's about 144 times. We actually ran it more in 2020. So in 2019, we played 15 games. And in 20, we played 8, and we were very, very effective running that play in 2020. 2021, I haven't totally finished all the data, but it wasn't as effective this year. But I'll finish studying that and determine why. But as you see in the notes down the bottom right, we struggled with some efficiency. I mean, we had a bunch of injuries, so we just weren't. Our starting fullback missed 3 games, so it kind of like drove some of this data down. Okay, here's the play art, right? And then the thing is right, some people think it's as simple as just run a Veer path. And every year when I reflect on the play and we study the play, we'll talk about it and you'll see what I mean. This play could sink into the A. It could hit up in here, or it ends up sliding around the whole thing. Now, when it slides around to the C gap, that's when, the defense fits like this and ends up sliding around. And we have some examples of film here in a second, but this is the play art. Leave it up there for a second. I think it's going to be better to talk about the player's responsibilities as opposed to stare at this diagram. Okay, zone dive notes for the quarterback and the fullback. These are just some notes. We'll talk about their actual rules here in a minute on another slide. But the fullback needs to be able to hit this thing square. And so I'm going to read this second bullet point for verbatim. Need to cut zone dive back a little more than we think. Verse even. And when I say 3 up, and we're going to talk about pods here in a minute. So 3 up is like if you have the center, the guard, and the tackle, and the 3 is here and does that, that means he's giving us the A gap. Or if a 2 goes out, it needs to sink up into the A gap. We'll talk about that more in detail. But verse even with a 3 up or a 2 out, and verse odd with the slanting nose guard. Okay, so we got better at this. We hit the A gap. We sunk into the A gap quite a bit. But versus an odd, when the nose guard slanted real hard across this guy's face, we kept trying to win here as opposed to just stick our foot in the ground right there. And that shouldn't be as hard as, I mean, if you're a running back, dude, you should be able to do that. The thing is we probably don't get enough practice reps at it. We should do that more. Okay, so yes, on a quarterback dirty, our fullback, right? This is actually kind of an incomplete thought, so I apologize. The thing is versus a four-man front, okay, the fullback just runs dirty. A 2 and a 5, he just runs, well, okay, we call it dirty. I try to call it zone dive, guys, because that's what everybody else calls it. We call it dirty, so that's a synonym, okay? I didn't want to call it dirty in case we have opponents watching, but that's what it is. We call it dirty, okay? So zone dive and dirty are synonyms. All right, so if it's a four-man front, the fullback he just runs his zone dive and he blocks what shows. Now versus an odd front, he runs the banana pass so he can kick out the outside linebacker. That's really what his rule is. Okay. On sinks, stay tight to the play side guard's hip so the backside scoops don't get into your legs. We tell the linemen all the time that scoops matter. And I have a really good clip from last year. It was a goal line play. Okay. This two technique went here. We sunk into the A gap. And the thing is, you don't want to sink back here, right? Now in Texas, we're allowed to block below the waist. But anyway, when this goes across a guard's face, fullback wants to stay real close to this, because if you sit and you try and cut back, you're going to run into scoops. You're going to run into bodies. So when you do sink in there, you don't want to sink back your interior to the trash. You want to stay as tight to this guard's inside hip as possible. Okay. Some of this is you can't have to see this in your head until we get to the film. Okay. I will say this. We have that issue with our guys being too slow. Okay. And then this is just what I was talking about, sinking behind a nose guard. Okay. So if a nose guard slants, we got to sink back behind it. And it doesn't mean go way back here. Okay. You got to sink way back behind it. This is a big one. Okay. Show patience on enveloped runs. A lot of times it looks like there's nowhere to go. But when you see two bodies right here, okay, bouncing like that, you're not getting anywhere. If you see two bodies in a little seam, that fullback has got to shove himself through there and get himself 3 yards. He's not going to score a touchdown, but he'll get 3. That's what this means right here. Okay, fullback needs to get vertical and work the back shoulder. What that means is, and you'll see, so when this happens, he's not supposed to go hash number sideline. If he has to bounce right here, he needs to square up. And as linebackers and safeties go, he needs to get vertical and get on back shoulders. Okay, that's what that means. And hopefully we'll get to some film. I know we're going to get to some film. Hopefully we get some examples of that. Okay, slots, A-backs, right? Okay, this might not make sense to you. Okay, goal line, dirty. We do need to cheat our. I'm gonna tell you right now, we weren't very good on the goal line. Our offensive line played the 2 big splits, and our this year, and our A-backs, they didn't crowd the ball enough. I know there's like Air Force does it all the time. Like when they run zone dive, they just go ahead and get real tight. But our kids, they were told to be tight, but they had 3-foot splits on the goal line and really didn't move up like they should have. Okay. Here's a note for the play side A. Nothing separates you from the play side tackle. Stay on track. Don't turn out on a super wide number 1. So there are examples, right? What that means is there are examples when the defensive end goes out real hard and like a JV slot is going to want to chase it like that. Well, no, he just needs to stay on track. Okay. Matter of fact, I just got in a Twitter argument with somebody about that. Play side A, get under, okay, number 1, but vertically. Okay. So a lot of times, guys, this is what this means. Okay. This defensive end right here, right? This slot, you tell him you want him to win inside. Well, the defensive end goes like that, and the slot just keeps going like that. You want to get inside vertically. And if the guy spikes across the tackle's face, then you stay on track and pick up the scraping linebacker. So that's one thing, right? It's a problem-solving thing. Number 1 spike, you tell him to get inside number 1. Well, then the slot ends up way over here, and he doesn't do anything. Hope that makes sense to you guys. This is a tag for the receiver. We talk about tags later. So right here, right, I'll tell you what we really went to. Instead of over teaching the technique, we ended up going to, hey, just teach a double team. You guys double, and then just double and double and double. And kind of like, like younger offensive line coaches who work with younger kids, gap schemes and zone. You just, the first 2 or 3 weeks, you just teach their double team and don't teach them to come off on a linebacker. Well, that's what we did here. We just told them, hey, y'all double, double, double. And then after a while, then we taught him the scenarios where he'd have the end by himself or he'd expect a linebacker. So we just, we concentrated on that double team. here, this is just coaching axioms to help them understand, space and kind of what to do. It's just another way to say it. And obviously I didn't make that up. I probably picked that up at a flex bone clinic, in the last year or two. That's why it's in yellow. Okay, here's a big one, right? The play side A, right? And we haven't even talked about rules yet. I probably went backwards order. Okay. You see a linebacker coming down, tackle really maybe can't see that because of his stance. The slot needs to say pop, 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 or whatever, alert, alert, whatever it is. So he can come off of that and he can go here. That way, because what happens is the tackle will go out, and he won't come back. He won't rock back until it's too late. Okay. Some O-line notes. Okay. You're gonna find out versus a bear too. Okay. We don't double team with the guard and tackle versus 3 techniques, so if we have a 3 technique and a 5, right? This is how we block it. He blocks a 5, he blocks a 3, he calls ace, and if the 3 disappears, he just keeps going. All right. But right, versus some kind of double eagle, and what we call the bear 2 is that some people call it Lincoln stack. I don't know what you guys call it, right? But when it's like a double eagle and the linebackers are stacked. I know I don't have room. This is a bear 2 or anything like this. Well, the double team comes from here. They're doubling this space, and they can double that. So I do let these guys deuce, right? I let them deuce 3 techniques because he normally does that. I let them deuce 3 techniques to kind of handle this space. And besides, the guard can't call ace because the center he's covered by the nose and can't get there. Okay. Play side tackle. This is just a little, that might be for like a 3-year starter. I don't know if play side tackle is just really going to be able to look at a defensive end's feet. But what I do tell the kids, and you'll see a note in here, is that play side tackles, okay, they have the B gap on zone dive. This is all going to make sense here in a minute. Right? What he does is the tackle always specs number 1 first, and then he expects the easy stunt. And if neither of those happen, it's going to be some form of an inside linebacker. That's what the tackle always expects in that order. He expects dive key number 1, the easy stunt, which is number 2 folded in, or the inside linebacker in that order. The thing is, the one that happens the least, okay, the ones that happens the least is the easy stunt or number 2 fitting in there. That happens the least, but he still needs to expect that second because it's one of the harder ones to pick up. And just keeps his eyes right. Okay, on an ace, because I did actually I might have went backwards with this, right? But on an ace, which is a center guard double team, okay? Center guard double team. It doesn't matter if it's a 2 or 3 or 2-eye, doesn't matter. We always talk about wherever the defender is, we're always trying to get that knee to that crotch. So it doesn't matter. If it's a 3, this guard steps to that outside foot and tries to get that knee to the crotch and base block him. And the center steps flatter. And if he's there, it's a double team. If not, he stays on track and chases the backer. But it doesn't matter where the guy is, okay? He's always trying to get this knee, which is left, and he's always trying to get his right knee to that guy's crotch, right? So if it's a 2, the footwork's smaller. And as he comes in here to a 2-eye, the footwork's even smaller. And that determines, does the guard step with his inside foot first versus his play side foot? So we just step with the foot that's closest to the crotch. That's what we do, generally. Okay? When we deuce, right? So sometimes we deuce 4 techniques, okay? And we'll talk about it. If we have a 4 not covered, this is when we talk about zone dive is the same for everybody except 2.5 players. So this guy's the half of the player. So versus odds, right? So something like that, they both step into the B gap. That's what this deuce is talking about right here. You step in the B gap. If the 4 spikes, it's a badass double. If the 4 stays out here, then the slot and the tackle double, and he climbs the backer. But that's what this note stands for. So it says deuce, the play side tackle and play side guard both step in the B gap and get your hips together. The play side guard's got to watch the near knee of the 4 technique as an indicator if he's going to climb the linebacker or double the tackle. It almost always ends up in a double. We double 4s like all the time. Okay. Center must collect a pop. We keep the language real easy because our scout teamers are goofy little JV guys. If you say a pop, that just means the Mike blitzes the A gap. Okay, so that note is because sometimes if the center runs like this, And he's like, well, I ran a track, coach. And I'm like, okay, dude, but who's going to pick up that A-pop? And we kind of let that fit behind us a couple of times the year prior. That's why this note is important to go over with my linemen. So we talked about this bullet already. Only do 3 techniques if there's also a nose guard, otherwise base or ace. And then I talked about that note also. There's more O-line notes. Okay, this is just some axioms, right? Play side tackle, punch through, and the play side A dig out the defensive end. But remember, we don't want that A back like drifting and all the way into like across the B gap. We want him to get inside and get vertical. Okay, play side tackles versus odd. Don't have to worry about the inside linebacker. Why? All right, and this is why. Play side tackle never has to worry about the inside linebacker. Because if the defensive end spikes, they end up in a double, and that scraper, the slot has them, right? So we changed that rule a couple years ago, and that's why we talked about guard. Watch the 4 technique, right? If the 4 spikes out, he has linebacker. And if the 4 spikes out, you got to tackle slot double team. So we actually went to where the tackle never worries about the play side inside linebacker versus a 3-4 or an odd. Scoops are just as important as aces. We talked about that a little bit. So what we call a purple, and the reason why we call it purple is versus shade nose guards. We didn't really want to ace it. We didn't want to waste a double team, right? We called it red on the right, and we called it blue on the left. That was confusing the kids. Red and blue make purple, so that's why we call it purple. So it doesn't matter if it's a shade nose versus an odd or a shade nose versus like a Miami 4-3. All we're saying is that shade nose is the center's got to do most of that work, and he sprints through, staying vertical, just getting that guy turned. But this was just talking about, verse on purple calls versus a Miami 4-3. You see that big, huge B gap that the tackle's got to work? Okay, that's tough. That's why this guard's got to be badass and not that's a big, huge B gap. And this guy, there's a lot of room for him. So that's why he's got to be a badass on the shade, and he's got to help the shade and get to that backer. Okay. Might as well talk about it since we're here. A purple versus an odd. So like a 3-4 with a shade, right? This purple goes to backside linebacker. Okay. That's just versus an odd. You don't have to work out there. All right. We work that in pause. We'll talk about it here in a second. Okay. Play side guard. So this right here, right? We tell about our kids running checks, don't chase. So I mean, this is kind of a no-brainer. Play side guard, don't widen or chase the play side linebacker versus odd. So if the play side linebacker runs, the guard needs to be expecting backside linebacker, because if he's going to run, he'll probably be there. Okay. Center cannot drift versus nose guard. You guys know how that is, right? We actually have this center and guys, I'm gonna say right now, if you guys are running the flex bonus stuff, I don't always put my best dude here. I put a smart guy, and what I like now is a heavy guy. I think maybe most of us are doing that now, but old school used to be, hey, put a cat right there at center. Like the guy is quick as a cat. Well, the thing is, we got like a 280 pounder. He is slow as molasses, but he's not 280. He's like 270 probably. He's bigger than we've ever been, but he's got this insane balance. And when you teach him how to, take a little T-step this way and drive his inside knee through the hip, he's just he's not very fast, but he's so heavy and he's got good balance. He rarely drifts that way. And so if the backside guard's good, we did a great job of getting to the backside linebacker. What's happened in the past, we put like too little of a guy in there and not very strong. As he steps, he just doesn't have enough weight, and the nose guard makes this bleed over here. And then it became really tough to run a bunch of plays. But this year, our center was very, very good. Kid named Anthony Chavez. So anyway, so that's what that's about. Purples have to help just long enough. We talked about that. Okay, here's our actual rules. Perfect. Quarterback, right? Veer steps, automatic give, carry out your option fake. Play side A, here are his rules. Step to the crotch of play side tackle when you're with your inside foot. Block number 1, unless he completely crosses the play side tackle's face, then stay vertical to inside for your linebacker. Stay in your cylinder, don't chase defenders. Although sometimes you have to carry a linebacker who threatens your area, right? Fullback, aim for inside leg of the play side guard. On your third step, the action key, which we all commonly know is the first, generally it's the first man inside on the line of scrimmage, inside of the dive key. But for this play, the fullback has to know like who his action key is. which actually I guess it's the same versus an odd, but we really teach the fullback to look at that 4 technique versus an odd. So if the third step, if actually he gives you the A gap, if he gives it to you, so that means the 3 pops out or the 2 pops out, then you have to sink into the A gap and get vertical. That's the big thing. Get vertical and look for that backside shoulder. If not, on the 4 steps, slide and square. So boom, boom. But it's always get back vertical. Stay tight, look for backside shoulders. Okay. Versus even, it really is just the same as Veer. Okay, backside slot, D motion. That means, we want him to go early, and we want him to go early because we want that defense running, because that's why we're running this play. All right, carry out your option fake. And then we have a little motion called short motion where the slot kind of just stops right behind the guard and tackle. Okay, so I'm going to kind of leave this up here for a second in case you guys need to, but I feel like I want to get into some film because we're dragging here. All right, here are some skills you need. Okay, base blocking. All right, I'm gonna leave this up here also just for a second because if I go through all these bullets, it's gonna be hard to get to the film. But long story short, we on the O line, we have like one base blocking progression. We don't do a whole bunch of different base blocking drills throughout the year, but this is our base blocking progression. It's pretty good. Little axioms, euphemisms and little different phrases so you can coach like in one little thoughts and coach real quick. But I'll say real quick, one of my favorite points is this right here, okay? Because a lot of times when a kid steps, if he doesn't bring his hips and shoulders with him, I know it's like not cool to say this in 2021, but I tell them to get their forehead to the block, get your eyebrows to the block. Because what happens is a kid can step with his foot, but like his hips and face stay back here. And man, I wish you guys were here so I could show you. But bottom line is, if you you got to get your shoulders out in front of your feet so you can get the block started. If you guys understand that. Okay, aces and purples. We kind of already talked about that a little bit. I'll keep it up there. But we just talked about the difference between sometimes you step with your play side foot. But generally, we want to step with the foot closest to the crotch of the man that we're trying to double. All right, here we go. This is good film. I'm going to go to this is pretty good film. Okay, this is going to be a purple. All right, if this stays up here at 53 dirty, I really should have changed that, but that's going to be zone dive to the left. Okay, right now we don't have a shade nose. Okay, I just want to talk about a purple real quick. Boom, he's getting in the shade nose. This is actually, oh no, never mind. I was going to say, I thought it's not even a shade nose, but this kid has the mindset of stepping in here to help with the cylinder, right? Now they must be misaligned here, but this is the concept of a purple. Boom. All right, and so we're watching the guard. The guard is mindful of stepping into that gap because, I mean, yeah, he wasn't a shade nose, but where did he start? So he's in there mindful of this. He does a good job of staying square and getting north and south, getting a body on this mic. The one thing I would say is this fullback who we missed terribly, he should already be right here. He was drifting way too far. He loved hash number sidelines. He should be square right up in here. And then remember I said scoops. The center probably went too far. Definitely, he should be on the nose guard. But that's the idea of a purple. Little 7-yard gain. Okay? Okay, it's dirty to the right. Okay, it's dirty to the right. And we talked about aces. So here's the defender. This foot's closest to the crotch, and this foot's closest to the crotch. Okay? Fullback's going to read him, figure the rest out. Okay? This is good. This pad level's good. This is a little too high for me. Okay, remember this purple is going to try and collect this. You could say this is more of a, a 4-2 instead of an odd, but in this case, he should be collecting that. He doesn't have to worry about that. This tackle right here, the tackle in the slot, had this cylinder. Let's go back and look at the tackles for a step. That's not too bad, I guess. It was a nice short step. His pad level is way too high. But I would say that I would like the tackle to step more into the B gap. They're the one thing when you start teaching this to the tackles, and then I think we have some practice film on here. Actually, I know we do. You start teaching this tackles, you tell them to expect number one. So if you have like a wide number 5 or a 5 that doesn't squeeze, the tackles tend to rock out and they make their B gap way too big to defend. And we'll see if we have an example on them. Okay, so right here, this guy, slot has already won this. You see how his shoulders are facing that way? His shoulders should be square, and he should be right up in there. The slot did a pretty decent job. Slot's too high, but look, it's a high school kid. I'm still going to coach him, but no excuse for this guy. This dude should be square up in here. You know, instead of a 4-yard run, it maybe should have been like 7. See, he got there late. Okay, power veer. We might as well talk about that a little bit. The power veer skill is that's when we talk about this play is the same except for 2.5 players. So if you have a 5 technique, right, and it's an even, right, the power veer, okay, the first step is the same as a base block, or it's the same as veer. Okay, eyes on number 1. Use your inside foot up and in to half the B gap. Shoulders have to stay square. Expect number 1 to engage you. And as you punch through number 1, you don't want to soften your shoulder. So like the tackle doesn't want his shoulders to end up like this, you know, and like soften that shoulder just so he can climb to the next level. He's got to keep that shoulder nice and thick so the slot has a chance to get there. Hope that makes sense. And I hope I have an example of a bad one here in a minute. Okay. Verse odd, expect the defensive end. Don't chase him or turn your shoulders or he spikes out. Okay, second step is shorter than in veer. That's what I didn't get to see. That's why I kind of like delayed there. And when veer is like, right, when the guys are veering, the first step is, you know, the T step inside, and that second step is and they're reducing their you know, surface, not necessarily turning their shoulders, but just getting lower and trying to get under that guy, right? And that second step is on that guy's toes and going. Well, in power veer, the second step is shorter, almost like his first step. Okay, and this bullet is the most important part. Tackles don't rock back or lean out. Stay thick and vertical. It's up to the play side A to be where he's supposed to be. You can't get squeezed. You can't drift inside, and you can't leave too early or soften your shoulder. But if the defender crosses your face, wash him down as far as you can without giving up penetration. And the key to not giving up penetration is tell those offensive linemen to drive your inside knee to square up. Play side tackles, if you turn your shoulders and get knocked inside, you have screwed the slot who's working with you. Do your job. Okay. Scoops. This is not a scoop clinic. Okay. There you go. Right. Centers, just like veer. You're covered. You know, T step right. Second step replaces the ball. And we actually call that that's the wrong one. We actually call it piggy now, as in piggyback. We changed it this year. Sorry. Okay. If the center is uncovered, right, like in an even, he runs through here for an ace, or he runs like this to chase, and it's really up to him. I'm going to tell you right now, we almost ace exclusively. Play side guards, these are their rules. I'm going to go to the right here. So play side guards. All right, if that's covered, okay, we're going to ace. Near foot, double him back. We don't care about anybody else. We're just knocking that guy back. A BC is a base, which he would base, and he would chase. We almost never do that anymore because we don't have a dude at guard that could just whoop ass. And then purple, we spent a lot of time talking about what a purple is. Okay, that's a shade nose, right? This is versus an odd. That's the purple. And this tackle will be half the B gap. It'll either be that guy coming or that guy. That's what a purple, you know, it's purple. Okay, tackles. When you power veer versus a 4-2, you want to expect these guys. This guy too, I guess he could fold in there, but he won't ever, promise. Okay, versus a 4-3, these are who the tackles are. The tackles expect number 1, Easy, and Mike. That's versus a 4-3. Okay, be able to pick it up now. Play side tackles. If the play side guard has nobody on him, the play side guard will call deuce, and you guys have the B gap together. Okay, but also the play side tackle. I've got these guys highlighted right here because the play side tackle has number 1, Easy. To well, he doesn't really have the B pop anymore. Okay, but versus a bear, right? Versus a bear. So there's a nose guard right here. Then we will deuce. Remember, we talked about that. So now we can move pretty quick. Systematically, right? This is how we rep zone dive. I'm going to leave this up here. I'm going to go over a couple of these to see if it makes sense. Okay, the first thing, remember, we talk about elementary type things with the JV. I'll just sit there and I yell 3 up, 5 hang, A pop. Okay, so we get in the 3. He goes up. Okay, a 5. I want him to hang on the double team, so they have to, right? And then A pop is that right there, right? So the center should be on that. The guard should have him by himself, and they just should have a double. Okay. This is gonna be pretty good. I'm gonna be able to start teaching here in a minute. And then let's say, okay, this one's pretty, then I'm gonna go on this one, and then everything else is gonna make sense. Okay. So let's say 3 in, 5 in, C pop. So there's the mic. 3 in, okay, boom. That'll end up in a double team because they're taking the same steps. 5 in, he has that. And then what did I say, C pop? The slot should end up on there. So I'll leave this up there. This is literally, we do this once a week, and that's about all the zone dive we do. Okay, we do this once a week. Now I will say, so it's in half line form, right? And we do each one of them twice. And so the 1s and the 2s go. So, and here we go, I'm gonna show you. Right? So this should be 3 up, 5 hang, A pop. All right, here's the fit. And the 3's in the B gap. So the fullback, 1, 2, 3, he should be sinking the A gap. It's a pretty good run by that kid. All right. Okay. First step, halfway in the B. Shoulder pad nice and low. Eyes on the block, running through the A gap. That's a pretty good practice rep. Okay. Here was the next fit, probably the 2 cross and face. Okay. Okay. This is pretty good. This is pretty good. They're going to end up on that double team, right? This is pretty good. He's pretty tight. This is horrible. See how this guy's already turned? Okay. Look at this tackle. His toe and knee are pointing like that as opposed to toe and knee pointing straight. Okay. And it's going to make him, yeah, he tried to square up there at the end. It's pretty bad. Let's see what the fullback does. 1, 2, 3, 4, slide. Look, nice and square. Okay. These kids, you know, he's not carrying out a fake, whatever. All right. And then it's a practice rep. So you like the fullback even tighter right here. But, you know, high school kids, what do you do? Okay. Good pad level. We don't even use, on these aces, we don't even use double teams. This is good. On the 3rd step, we want these feet to come together. That's pretty good. Got a double team right there. Again, you see how this kid is like, the tackle's feet are too close and his knees, you know, he's too high and everything's kind of like drifting that way. He needs to be more square. His eyes are good though. You can see his eyes on that backer. Here's another fit. Okay, this is supposed to be a B pop. Okay, it's a B pop where he goes out and he comes here and the tackle needs to identify the inside linebacker. Okay, that's this fit. That's pretty good, all right? What am I trying to do here? Okay, right? So here's the action key. When he pops out, the fullback should be 1, 2, 3, sink, right? 2 pop out, sink. Pad level's not great. Quarterback's not carrying out his fakes because it's a drill. You know, we're not perfect. I apologize. Okay, so here's a purple. He should do all the work. He's got to sprint through and get to the mic. Okay, I'm showing the tackle an easy stunt. Good. Okay, it's kind of like a 6-1. This is what we're doing. In, flow, out. So it should be 1, 2, 3, slide around. Don't tell anybody, but if you huddle request this, I'll give it to you. Look. Okay, so look. This is going to naturally happen, but if he doesn't start driving his knee, he's not going to end up squaring up, and this guy might slip through. Holy smokes! We got about 10 minutes to go. So I think I proved the point. We practiced this. Oh, you know what? This was a good one. Here's an odd, right? All right, remember versus an odd? Remember, 0.5. Just versus an odd, this is different than Veer. These guys step halfway into the B, and when the 4 technique's there, they double him. You can imagine, okay, this guy didn't line up right. This is supposed to be a 3-4. I'm sorry, man. JV guy. Okay, it's not bad. Good, good. Probably too high. On the third step, their hips should be coming together. It's not too bad. That's pretty good. Look at that slot right there. All right, nice and tight. Okay, so I'm just gonna tell you almost all. There might be one fit in the world that we didn't have on that pod. Okay, so I don't know if you can see this says miss sync. That means the fullback's gonna get it wrong, but you're gonna see the it's 52-30, so it's on the right. It's going to the right, well, left here, but the offense is right. Okay, so this works out pretty good. That's what we call ace all the time. You see, as he closes the space, he's not simply chasing the linebacker. He's running here in case this happens. They're calling ace versus a 2 technique. Okay, so as the center, okay, he's just on track, and when the mic kind of, is fitting pretty tight inside of everything, the center actually. See how the center actually got a hand on this guy? And I'm not, it's really not an accident. Center, just it's effort. So the center gets a hand on that guy, and the fullback's back behind it. You're like, well, it's not, I mean, come on, man, it's a 5-yard run. That's pretty good. But you see, this scoop got handled, the fullback should be up in there, right? Because he should be reading that 2 technique. When the 2 technique pops out, the fullback should be reading it up in there. Some more half line stuff. Practice. This one's too far to show you guys, I think. Oh, I love this one. This is my favorite, one of my favorite ones. Okay, so it's gonna be it's gonna be this way, right? It's the same thing we saw. 2 out, I believe. Let me see. What does it say? Oh yeah, 3 up, 5 up, A pop. So as this guy goes to motion or whatever he does, he stays on here. Center's going to be on track. And you're going to see the fullback do a great job of just, there it is. So look, here's the deal, guys. Have you ever heard like a coach say, hey, they're slanting the motion? So what? Big deal. If he reads his action key like he's supposed to and he does what he's supposed to, let him slant to motion. And if these scoops are good, then here it is. I mean, it's a systematic thing. You don't need a bunch of reverses and a whole bunch of crap. Let them slant. Just teach your guy to freaking, your guys to read the right dude. And so we don't double 3 techniques with the tackle. Oh, this is my favorite one. This is one of my other favorite ones. Okay, it's on the goal line. That's what we're talking about. Okay, I think he's going to give here, right? And this scoop is just good enough that when the fullback sinks, that's when we talk about scoops matter. Oh hell, it's not that one. Dang it. I hope that one's on here though. It's gonna be, it'll be a 2-point conversion, what I'm talking about. And I'm not gonna be able to search and find it. All right, so 5 up, 2 out. Oh, we've already seen that fit. Let's find another fit as we approach 7:44. Even stunt 2, right? Okay, it's gonna be, this is from this season, I believe. Okay, it's you got two shades, 2 5s, and these backers right here. They're actually an odd defense, and they're like in a like a 4-2. Okay, so it should be an ace right there. And then the tackle should be picking up this B pop, which he was late. Tackle's kind of late. And you see how this guy went so wide and the slot just kind of stayed on track. That's pretty good. This is going to be 52, so it's to the right. All right, should be an ace. They don't have to worry about this. This B pop belongs to the tackle. It's not that bad. You see how the tackle, pretty patient. He didn't really rock back. It's kind of a hard fit. You know, this guy didn't run wide, so the tackle's trying to stay vertical, and he comes on this just in time. They end up sliding around the whole thing. It's a good 6-yard run. So 53. This is our short motion we talked about. Okay, let's go to the next stunt. Right, again, these are all from the pod script. Okay, in, so we should slide around this whole thing. There it is. See, look, don't nobody know where the ball is. Now we'd like him to be a little bit tighter. See, I almost thought that was Veer myself. I was like, damn, did I put the wrong clip on there? But here's the same clip, right? We practice it. Like, stuff's not an accident. Verse odd. All right. Looks like I'll go about 3 more minutes. It's going to be to the right. All right. It's kind of a, you know, I don't know. This guy's freaking tilted. He's not lined up in a 3, but I guarantee he's playing like a 3. So these guys should be stepping right here halfway the B gap, and he should stay on track. Let's see what happens. Boom. Wow. Like somebody coached him. He came to him. That dude should get started. Look at that. Play side A is pretty tight. I mean, could be a little tighter, but if you think about feet, it's hard to get much tighter than that. Whoop. Slide right around. This, look, running outside. This is, okay, he should not be turning his shoulders like that. He should still be square, covering him up. But this number 22, he actually played, he was a starting slot, just playing a little bit of fullback in this game. That's not that bad. I would like to see, I mean, if we're being perfect, I'd like to see him tighter than that, but that's a really good play. He's going to gain 16 yards. It's a backside safety right there, right? So they're fitting. We threw a play action pass for a touchdown in that game because their safeties were fitting like that. Okay. To the right, 52, right? These guys should be doubling this gap. Okay. Blast. Blast means he blocks number 2, the pitch key. That's what that means. And there should be one out there. And if he's going to run the pitch, then what he does is he rattles to safety. Let's see what he does here. Or he embarrasses me. Oh, he shouldn't be blocking that guy. He should be staying on track to safety if he's not going to fit that tight. Okay, let me see. Boom. Step in there. We should end up with a double team on that dude. Slot up on the outside, on the inside linebacker. Delicious. That's a good play. Okay. Let's go to the next odd fit. Guys, I'm sorry, man. Look, dude, I have 209 clips on here. Just request a huddle request me, man. We'll get it to you. Don't tell anyone. Okay, here you go. 4 in, A pop. It's gonna be to the right. Boom. Together, feet together. Hips should be coming together by step 3. Okay, number 22, he's a really good player. Staying tight right there. Oh, look at his shoulders turned. What if his shoulders were square like we coach him and he just won vertically, and then when he ran, he just backdoor him? That's just something we struggle with. You know, a lot of these guys, they still want to run out there. I mean, he should be right up in there, staying real close, riding the wave. Okay, 750. Damn, come on. Alaska? His nickname's Alaska. Where do you think he moved from if his nickname's Alaska? Here we go. Odd stunt. Let's get to the game film. But this does prove that we do it in practice at all times. Come on, man. Okay, perfect. Here we go, please. So I don't have an end zone or what? Okay, here we go. It's going to be dirty to the left. The 4 is going to pop out. All right, see, look at that. 4, right? Look, the 19, we had an awesome offensive line, 5'9", 220. The tackle was about 5'11", 185. Pop out, just all stayed on track. Right, 4 goes out, sink in there. Those guys were good. They had a defensive end, went to UTEP, and that's good for around here. This is one of my, let me see, all right, this might be one of my favorite ones. All right, remember, we tackle expects number 1, then he expects number 2, then he expects this guy. But remember, versus an odd, we changed it. He didn't expect him anymore. So check this out. Check this play side tackle out. Running it to the bottom. Come on, man. He just running his track. Boom. Right on that easy stunt. I'll show it again. You might be in disbelief. See that outside linebacker trying to fold up in there? Tackle just stayed on track. And let me tell you something. It's not on accident. It wasn't pretty right there, but we did it in practice. We do it in practice all the time. Fellas, man, this is some little strategy stuff. I put it up there. I don't know if you're going to ask me for this huddle or not, but maybe take a picture or something. I don't know if you want it, but this the verbiage might not mean nothing to you, but as I reflect year after year, this little PowerPoint slide gets more detailed, longer and longer. What else do I have here? Here's some notes from defensively, just some things that kind of guide us and how we work and how we change rules and how we change coaching points year to year. These are notes from 2019 versus different defenses. This might not mean as much to you because it's our verbiage. Okay. Man, I wanted to get to half line and stuff like that. I will never suggest that again. But here's my contact information. Man, feel free to text me. What I should put on there, Wagner High School, San Antonio, Texas. And as soon as the huddle requests start coming in, I'll make sure I pop it to you. Man, I hope you guys got something out of it. I'm sorry I was long-winded, but not really, man. I enjoy talking about football. Yeah, just reach out, man, flexbone coach or not, defense, whatever. Let's connect. It's my extreme pleasure. And, I guess we'll close this thing out.
Yeah, that was an amazing job, Coach. We appreciate you for sharing and taking your time. And on behalf of the clinic, we'd like to thank you.
Yes, sir.